Hey YouTube, my name's Alicia and this is Double A Homestead. Now today I'm going to show you how we seed start. So we're going to start off, we got about a 2.5 inch pot. I'm going to go ahead and put this potato in here and I'm just going to cover it with dirt. I'm just kidding, that's not how we seed start. For potatoes, you want to put those in the ground when the temperature of the ground is about 45 degrees. We want to show you how we seed start today, and there's so many different ways that you can seed start. You can do them in cell trays like the one that we have here, or plug trays. And you can go ahead and then sit that inside of your tray, and then just put a lid on top of that. That way it just keeps the moisture and the heat in there and then helps your seeds germinate. You can also do solo cups. Those are readily available and a cheaper option if that's kind of the route that you want to go. But the way that we do it's a little bit different. Some of the supplies that you need, we use the plastic sandwich bags, and then you're going to want a marker. You want to make sure that you label your bags, just because if you're doing more than one variety, you don't want them to get mixed up. You want paper towel. Then we're just going to go ahead and fold that. And you want some water. And we're going to go ahead and spray that. Get it generously wet. Make sure you have enough moisture for your seeds. All right. Now you're going to go ahead and take your seeds. Now when you do this, you want to do more than what you're planting. That way, just in case, if not all of them germinate, then you have more than enough. You don't want to do the exact amount that you're planting in your garden. That way, if they don't all germinate, then you have to start the process all over again. So we're going to take these seeds. We're just going to go ahead and put these right on the wet towel. Then you want to go ahead and fold your towel just enough where you can fit it in the plastic bag. Don't forget to label. Let's go ahead and get that in there. You are all set to go. Now for this, you don't need light to germinate. What you're going to need is heat, and you can use a heat mat if you have that available to you. If you don't and you are on a budget, you can use the top of your refrigerator. That does give enough heat to help those seeds germinate, or you could use a windowsill. Now that that's all done, I do want to share with you, I know I mentioned that seeds don't need light to germinate. The particular one that I was using does not, but I would double check with your seeds just to make sure to see what ones do require some light to germinate. All right, we are on to the next step here. This has been about 4 days of growth. We could have done this yesterday. You can see how big that they have gotten, but I still want to show you how I'm going to do this. Now, when it comes to your soil, you want to make sure that it is wet before you start potting. The reason why I say that is because when you get your soil, it's dry and it doesn't absorb the water very well. So when you're using your cell trays or your plug trays and you've got your seeds in there ready to go, you go ahead and water it. You don't want your seeds to float over into the next row, especially if you're doing more than one different type of seed. So when you're doing this, you want a good consistency. When you're getting it wet, you can just take it in your hand and then go ahead and squeeze it. If there's water running out of it, it's too wet. So you want to add a little bit more soil to it. You want it to hold its form. Also, another important thing when you're starting your seeds indoors, you want to make sure that you are using potting soil. We use Potter's Gold. We just get that locally. You don't want to take soil from outside from your garden or outside and then bring it indoors just because it's going to be too dense. You're going to get your seeds in there it may grow to a certain point, but it's just not going to make it. So you want to make sure that you are using potting soil. So go ahead and get that mixed. After you have your seed in here, what you're going to want to do next is you want to get the light as close as possible to your plant. And as the plant grows, you want to keep raising the light. I wanted to come back a little bit further to show you guys the setup that we have going on here with our lights and just the frame. Andrew built that. He did a really good job. The top lights that we have are 6,500K blue lights. There are red lights, and then there's full spectrum lights. With the full spectrum, it's both red lights are flowering. You don't need those just because these plants are only going to grow for so long here, and then they're going out in the garden. And here's the box. It's just Sunblaze 48. It just means it's got 8 bulbs, and then it's got all the specs there on that. In order for us to lower and raise these lights, they're on a pulley system, and to raise them, you pull this string here, and then to release them, to lower them, there's a lever here. You just push that, and that will go ahead and lower it. And then here are the on and off switch for these lights. In order for us to control these lights, we have a timer here, plugs on both sides, and it's just like a clock. You set it to the time that you want. For these little blue things, down is on, up is off. When you're starting out, you want to do 16 hours of light and then 8 hours of rest time. A commonly asked question is, when do I start my seeds indoors? And it's really hard to say because it all depends on where you live. What you're going to do is you can go on your phone, you can Google when is my last frost date, and you can put your zip code in, and then it'll pop up as when your last frost date is. You could also take this Clyde's garden planner. On one side, it's got spring, then you can flip it over. On the other side, it's got fall. And then you're going to, once you get your average last frost date, you're going to go ahead and slide that over about there. You can see that red line there. Now on here, there are things that are abbreviated. That SI there, that just tells you seed starting indoors. That's when you want to start your seeds. It's going to give you a list here of those items. And then the LP is basically last planting outdoors. And it gives you all that information there. I wouldn't take this as law just because weather changes. So when you get close to planting outdoors, you want to go ahead and keep an eye on your 10-day forecast. Once the weather is clear, then you can go ahead and start planting. When you are getting ready to plant your plants outdoors, there's a very crucial step that you want to take before doing that. And that is called hardening off. And basically what that is you take your plants that you started indoors, and on a preferably cloudy day, if weather allows it, you want to take those outside and let them get, the sun and the elements and stuff like that. Because if you were to put your plants outside directly in the sun without exposing them to that, then, eventually I don't think your plants will make it. So you want to we start about a week beforehand, and then on that first day is 30 minutes, and then the next day an hour, and you just want to keep doubling that until that week is up, and then you're ready to plant in your garden. Also, to help with your plants getting stronger while they're indoors, we use fans. You can get an oscillating fan, you can get something to attach to a post if you have it, and that's just going to help your plant get stronger, so when you get it outdoors, it's just going to be better. When you're starting your seeds indoors, you do kind of want to pay attention to the difference in temperature with seeds. Now, some seeds require a little bit more heat than others. So, for instance, brassicas, they usually require around 70 degrees, whereas pepper plants, they prefer about 80 degrees. One of the things we do when we are watering our plants that we think is really important is we actually bottom water. And when they're small and they're just starting out, we can water on the top. But when they start getting bigger and they've got their true leaves, we want to start watering from the bottom. We have these trays. You can see there's holes in the bottom of these. And then we'll have our pots sitting in here. And then we'll go ahead and water. And then once they absorb the water that they need, just go ahead and pick this tray up. That way they're not sitting in water. And it's also important when you are bottom watering, and the reason why is because when they get to a certain point, you're not spreading possible diseases around as well. The reason why we love the paper towel method so much is because with the plug trays, when you have so many and only some of them germinate, then you kind of run into the issue where you have to take the lid off, and then you have to take the ones that need to be potted, that need oxygen to grow. You're losing that moisture to help that seed germinate. So when you're doing it in the plastic bag with the wet paper towel, we usually get about 70 to 80% germination rate, which is pretty good. And you're saving space on that too. So when only, say, half of these germinate, then you got to put the ones that did germinate into pots, and then you still got to wait for the other ones to germinate. So you've got this taking up space where you could be using that for pots for your plants. And, you know, if you're lacking on that space, that's a big deal. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. I'll see you guys later.